Hello, folks. This is Nathan again. I'm recording live here from the Philippines. And once again, I'm saying live because this is just one take. All right. So, for those of you who are new here, I'm recording this vlog. And for those of you who prefer reading it, it's in my blog. My website is onelifeonly.net. And you're watching this on YouTube, or you can watch it in my website, onelifeonly.net, or you can listen to the podcast version of this through Spotify. All right. So, and to know more about me, again, just visit my website and you'll see what I do. I'm a counselor here in Philippines, Quezon City. All right. Metro Manila. All right. So, for this week's topic, I've been away for quite a while. Sorry, I've been quite busy lately. Um, the title of the blog post that I wrote is Finding Your Purpose, a Behavioral Perspective. Ever since I've always been interested in existential philosophy or existential therapy, and I've always been interested in finding meaning in life and purpose. So since started pursuing something more evidence based in the form of a third wave an approach that's part of the third wave of cognitive behavioral therapy, which is ACT, or acceptance and commitment therapy. I've been very interested in behavioral science, or behavioral therapy. Okay. So ACT is a kind of behavioral therapy. And for those of you who might not know, that's kind of like, hmm, how can ACT be behavioral? That's kind of a good question, because I asked myself that when I was starting off with ACT back in 2019, as an approach that I adopted, um, from being more humanistic to somebody who's into behavioral therapy. Okay. So anyway, that's a long story, but I hope you're gonna like this particular article that I wrote today. It's kind of late now, so sorry if I kind of sound a little different. And pardon me, I'm just trying to summon all my energy now to do this for you. Okay. So, in a recent article about Tim Cook, the current CEO of Apple Computers, he had this to say about an old saying. So let me quote the article. Open quote. There is a saying that if you do what you love, you will never work a day in your life, Cook said during the speech at the Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans. At Apple, I learned that is a total crock, Cook said to a laugh from the crowd. Right? So, folks, how many times have many of us stared at the horizon to ask ourselves what our existence is for? There have been many cases in the counseling room wherein people ask me why they have these feelings of emptiness, a lack of purpose or direction in their lives. Sometimes a lot of people come in, I don't seem to like my career right now. Why am I stuck in this job, or something like that? All right. So believe me, I still ask myself the same questions. I am not exempt from life's difficult puzzles. I'm quite sure that most of you reading or listening or watching this have browsed through countless articles that try to answer this question of finding purpose. In this space, I would like to share my take on how this might look like from a behavioral perspective. Okay. So here's my understanding of the subject at this point in my journey inside the world of contextual behavioral science. We all do things for for a reason or a purpose. When you pick up your toothbrush in the morning, that has a purpose. A purpose. Deciding to use your time to go to the grocery store, whether by foot or by the use of a vehicle, is also based on reasons. So there are three ways of explaining why we do what we do. We either think of them as activities that we should, must, or cannot do, or that we have to do, or that we want to do. Now let's break each one of them down. So let's start with the musts, shoulds, and can'ts. As humans who enjoy being at the top of the food chain, we occupy a spot in part, thus this spot in part because of our capacity to follow rules without having to experience something firsthand. We can just be told a rule and not have to test it. So, if we were fish and we were as bright as we are as fish, we wouldn't be caught as easily as the fish we see inside the water, right? Or the fish that we see that bites the bait, all right? That gets hooked by a fishing rod, all right? So that's an advantage because the fish can't really, I mean, they don't have the language to think, oh, I think that's bad. They don't have that kind of judgment that we have, all right? All they see is when I see food, I gotta get it, right? You can imagine how helpful this ability can be if we go back to ancient times when a rule to follow might be don't go near a lion because it can be dangerous, right? So, see, we can just follow this rule and we don't have to see a lion for the rest of our lives and still follow this rule, right? Or if we, by some, accident, you happen to be in front of a wild animal like a lion, you don't really have to test whether this lion is friendly or not. You already know by what your parents told you that you shouldn't go near a lion, or something you learned from school, or something you learned from uh, videos that you watch, all right? On YouTube, of course. So rules like washing our hands before we eat or avoiding certain places that can pose a danger to our safety are helpful in keeping us safe and alive. However, this rule following capacity can otherwise be detrimental when applied to threats we sense from the inside. So the lion and let's say, the germs, these are all external threats to us. But what about the internal threats that we sense? All right. If we yell and scream at our child or partner, sometimes following that rule can work. We get what we want, like a period of less frustration from someone we live with. The rule here is I shouldn't be getting to this level of frustration with my child or partner, right? Or I can't stand this any longer. I must do something to stop it. All right. So those are shoulds, must, can't, right? These are rules. Unfortunately, this can have detrimental long term effects on your relationship with the very people that mean most to you, especially when done in a harsh manner. This can also translate into other consequential decisions in life. Shoulds like You should be pursuing a career in a field only because it is what others say you should do. A good example of this is I must be a doctor because that is what my family wants for me, which often leads to burnout and poor performance, right? How many of you can relate to this? We follow a rule. My dad is a lawyer. I need to be a lawyer too. My dad is an engineer. I need to be an engineer too. I must be an engineer too. I can't be anything else, you know? All right. Or the other extreme is to follow a rule that may not be available for us to follow at the moment. An example would be I must be an artist, regardless of the fact that I am currently without any opportunities to be one. See, it's hard to get a job as an artist, right? Another form is when we follow rules like I must have a drink when I am stressed. I can't sleep without a sleeping pill. Or I can't speak before a crowd until I am relaxed. This type of rule following can lead to unhelpful and at times unhealthy behaviors where we don't make advances in what we are capable of achieving within the finite amount of time that we have in our existence. So time is ticking, right? The clock is ticking and we can't seem to do the things we want to do because there are of all these can't, shoulds, and musts, right? All right. I can't really, you know, go back to work or I can't really spend time with my family because I'm too stressed out with work. I need to have a drink or two. All right. So next one is the have tos. These activities fall under what Tim Cook was probably referring to. Although we would like an ideal of working in jobs that give us the most fulfillment, we nonetheless would likely end up with aspects of the work that we don't necessarily enjoy, right? Like even if Tim Cook really enjoyed being with Apple, he still considers it work. All right. Oh, sorry. Okay. All right. This is where some of that idealism has to wear off. If you're one who insists on being in that dream job, but can't find any opportunities to land one, maybe it is time to think about the have tos. In the meantime, we don't know how long that meantime will be, right? You might have to work other jobs and pursue your passions through other avenues. There are people who end up doing what they love on the weekends in a different setting. Anyway, what we love to do, we can do even without compensation, right? You'll never know. You might even find it in whatever current job you have that puts food on the table. In other words, there can be parts of your job that allow you to do what you love to do, even if it's less than your ideal, right? So let's say you're in a job that you don't really enjoy, but you can find ways to see if, let's say, part of your job, I mean, part of your desires is to be in a job that allows you to problem solve, but you're in a job that's not really completely about problem solving. You can find facets of that job that require you or that uses your ability to problem solve. Okay. So that's one way to put it. All right. So now let's go to the want tos. Here is where most of us would like to be, obviously. Unfortunately, not even the jobs that fit our passions are purely fun. If you wanted to play a sport for a living, there's also the hard part of long hours of practice in a very lonely gym. So congratulate yourself if you are able to land a job wherein you fulfill your want tos. Want tos can also involve what we do for rest and recreation. Okay. So to go back to an earlier example, your must, like I must drink to remove my stress, can be changed to I drink when I choose to remove my stress. This is where the same form of behavior functioning differently in different contexts, right? So this is where we see the same form of behavior functioning differently in different contexts. So let's say you like having a drink or two to get you relaxed, then if it's something that you must or even have to do, then the form may be the same, but the function is different. All right. So the function is more like avoiding some stressful feelings as compared to choosing to because you want to reward yourself and you want to have some uh, bonding time with some of your workmates. All right. And part of the ritual that you do after a hard week's work is to spend time having a few drinks with your friends, right? Or your colleagues at work. So here's a quote from Ray Owen that I believe is a helpful guide for us to know if ingesting something to relax or heavy stress from heavy stress is helpful or not. Quote, remembering, planning, daydreaming, imagining, and so on, even drinking, matter greatly to me too, and I wouldn't give them up. So, if they're important to you, it's not something for me to judge for you to remove. Sorry, that's out of the quotation. All right. Anyway, it's on the screen. However, I'd say that they're good things when they're chosen. You can have, you can add having that some time off of work or other commitments with a drink or two or whatever activities it is that you do for recreation because you choose or want to and not because you must is a way to see if you are doing something with your time that is helpful or unhelpful to your sense of purpose. Okay? So it is probably something that works for you if you choose to do it rather than something you must do in order to achieve something like relieving stress or to get rid of something or to run away from something. All right? So there's the difference there. Same form, you're just drinking, but very different reasons for doing so. All right? So this is where want tos uh, can tell you if whatever activity you're engaged in, whether it's your work or whether you're planning to raise a family or not, then if it's something that you want to, then it's probably something that's effective or workable for your life. Right? So next time you do something that's like following a rule, notice the rule first. Then notice why you're doing it and see if it is something you feel like you, one, must, should, or can't do. Two, something you have to do. Or number three, something you want to do. Maybe you will find your place in the sun, or what we most of the time call your purpose for living. Nice rule of thumb, isn't it? All right. So that's the end of the blog post or the vlog or the podcast for today. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed sharing it with you. And it's pretty late that I'm doing this. And sorry if I have some kind of lack of energy tonight and I kind of miss some words. But, you can always go through the website and see the blog post. It's under the One Life Only blog category. So hope to see you again next time. And remember to like and subscribe or follow me on Spotify. All right. Bye bye for now.